I almost think about the image or definition of a perfect life monthly. With the evolution over the years, I settled on the idea of a life. Although with its ups and downs, it is still completely full of happiness and growth. With all of its flaws, there are moments bigger than any regrets. Here is the story of my longing, my dream, and my best wishes. Hello, fellow humans. This is A Lot of Hope. Welcome to this episode of The Living Journey, where we escape and explore a life in an alternate universe. Thank you for your support. Now, let's decompress. The final review. Do you have any regrets? An angel asked Sylvia. Who the fuck are you? Sylvia questioned. Because the last memory that she had was her being in the karaoke, singing her lungs out with her families and friends. It was her 80th birthday. I apologize, my name is Angel Michael Jr. All my friends call me Mikey. He touched his chest, bowed a bit, changed his voice, spoke with a soft tone. You will be guided to the gate of heaven soon, but I will have to help you to solve the regrets. Oddly, hearing the news, Sylvia was calm. In her brain running through all the information, the manila envelope in the safe with all of the important documents and IDs since birth, the renewed will, the letters to all the family and friends. Did I do all I wanted to do? She thought, allowing the memories in her mind to play through like the fast-forwarding, unscripted, and unedited film reel. When Sylvia was growing up, she hated school. Not only waking up early in the morning, needing to rush to the school, she was so jealous of her classmates who lived only a 3-minute walk away from the school. Sometimes running to the school late, signing in on the late arrival sheets, doing the walk of shame in front of all the judgmental classmates. Oh, what's worse than forgetting to do your homework and having to announce to your peers that your homework was eaten by the dog? The teacher smearing. Okay. Sylvia hated doing her homework. Or more accurately, she hated being told what to do. A willful little monster who ran away from her parents with a single toothbrush. Having no place to go, she walked to her uncle, who lived just a couple of blocks away. She loved her uncle's house. A house with 3 bedrooms, one for sleeping only, one for the office, and one for the closet. It was so organized and cozy, with no formal space, but all cozy sitting areas. So comfy that Sylvia slept on the couch-converted queen-size bed and didn't even realize that time had passed. Waking up in the middle of the night, warm lights all around the space, limited but curated items in the house, all made her loving the space even more. She stayed in the house for a month. Her uncle allowed her to use the office to do her homework. He sat next to her, patiently teaching her the way he studied. His special way of studying, learning everything. See, you can do it too, he encouraged. It is always in you to learn. You know how to do everything. You only need it to find the key to unlock your potential. When math numbers made no sense, her uncle taught her to visualize. When his storybook sounded boring, she learned to analyze and reconstruct the stories to make them interesting. When science classes were nonsensical, she found the skill of pattern recognition. But one thing she couldn't get into was memorizing and reciting literatures, which caused her to hate reading and writing. Her uncle shook his head and told her, whatever, if you don't enjoy it, do something else. Be good at something else. Often at night, she listened to him reading storybooks as she fell asleep, enjoying his fun adventures on the dinner table, as she enjoyed the delicious homemade banquets, or hearing her uncle and mother gossiping behind closed doors, as she put on her homework writing pen and eavesdropped on the juicy details. On one Chinese New Year, she was brought to the cinema to watch a movie. He brought her a bucket of popcorn that was the size of her torso. She enjoyed it so much that by the end of the movie, she finished nearly half a tub of the popcorn, and was so attracted to the idea of being an actress herself, facing the elusive career dream. He only encouraged her with, "Do what pleases you and work hard to achieve your goals." When the college application started, she had her career goals set on acting, remembering all the movies that she had watched, all the enjoyable experiences that she had witnessed, and all the stories that pulled her heart, making her want to express all of her creativities. She packed her bags, went to the college for acting, and went to the auditions all over town. On another Chinese New Year dinner banquet, the whole family raised their weapons towards Sylvia. "How did the last audition go? Yeah, did anything follow after the audition? The theater work, did anyone sign you after? It didn't pay much? It didn't pay much more? Really? I thought the actors get paid a lot." "No, Sylvia is not getting paid at all, and the student loan debt is so high now." Looking at the delicious food, a banquet that was to die for, she had no idea how to supercharge her appetite. She had become so tired of the holidays. The only thought was, maybe I should open a weight loss camp with my family, having them bombard my actor friends into their ideal weight goals. Then her uncle arrived. Like a ray of sunshine, she knew her appetite would resume. "Sorry I'm late, they delayed my flight," her uncle said, knowing that not only all the firepowers would get turned against her unmarried gay uncle, but he was so strong and would support her to do anything, not to mention the large, thick $100 bill filled red envelope that he would give her. On the graduation day, after all the relatives' firepower against the helpless young Sylvia slowed down, her uncle introduced a friend to her. The friend was a local guy in the entertainment industry. "You'll have to find my niece a job," Uncle said to him flirtatiously. Of course, with his charm, she was offered a job. Unfortunately, it was a writing job. She hated reading and writing. But what's fortunate was people at her work was extremely nice, teaching her and guiding her through the writing process. Although she was still rebellious against the memory of being forced to memorize textbook literatures, she really enjoyed coming up with the storylines and expressing her creativity with the like-minded coworkers, utilizing her skills in research and analysis, visualization and storytelling. Plus, when she wanted to go on an audition, she would be able to sneak away under her friend's cover. Although the dream of being an actress didn't go far, her writing career took off. The feeling of her name rolled up in the credits made her proud. She called her family, asking everyone to watch the show that she had worked on and pay attention to her name. It was a huge vindication to all the Chinese New Year banquet bashing. "I'm going to brag the shit out of this," her mother laughed. At the end of the call, her mother said to her, "Make sure you call your uncle. He misses you." "Sure," Sylvia replied. But work was busy. Finished 2 scripts, being on set all day every day, writing, rewriting, and rewriting. It was draining. That year was the first time in Sylvia's life that she didn't go back home for the Chinese New Year, and was the first time not seeing her family for over a year. By Easter time, her mother and her uncle visited her. She was still busy, barely having any time to spend with them. She didn't even notice her uncle's hat covered up the buzzed off hair. "Don't worry, we just wanted to see you," they said, after giving her a big hug. "I love you too," Sylvia replied, rushed out of the door with a piece of toast hanging in her mouth. At night, when she was working overtime in the living room, she overheard them gossiping behind the closed door. She was distracted, listening, then wrote down the juicy details on the separate page. Through all her life, her family had not talked much about the family history. She was curious if there were any dramatic, impossible details through the years of immigration, but there weren't. Her family was normal and simple, with loads of gossip. Only until she drove them to the airport did she see from the rearview mirror. She noticed the haircut. After unloading the luggage, she touched her uncle's buzzed hair and said, "I really like your new hair." "Right? I told you, Mom, it looks nice." She kept on being a bitch about it. He replied casually, leaving her mother to roll her eyes and to stay in silence. "Oh, I almost forgot," he continued, reached into his jacket, pulled out a thick, full red envelope, and passed it to Sylvia. "Here, don't work too hard. I love you." "I love you too," she replied, touching the thick stack of cash, which she used to be so excited about. She no longer feels so much urge to open and count how many last pack of instant noodles she would need to eat. She is now a fully grown woman with independence, sustainable income, able to support herself fully, with not much time to think. Her mother burst into tears. So she said, "Don't cry, nobody's dying here. We will see each other soon. Summer, I promise. My projects end in the summer. Seriously, I will come home and visit." When summer came, the project extended to the fall, then till the winter. Sylvia picked up the phone while she was walking after her mother called her phone over and over again. Her mother said, "No matter what you are doing, you must come back now." But with plane delayed by the winter blizzard, she landed in the cold, harsh weather, with city roads overrun by the muddy, dirty, icy water. Thankfully, she was able to participate in her uncle's funeral. When she arrived at her uncle's house to clean up his belongings, seeing the house that was so much bigger than herself when she was younger, now looked like a normal house on a normal block. The planters outside of the house had been removed, leaving the cement pavement with discolorations. Wanting to open the door to smell the residue of his existence, she only smelled a gentle scent of the chemical cleaning solution. It was a disappointment. The cozy rooms that was decorated with his personal belongings had all been sold, leaving the house as hollow as her heart. She walked around the house. In her memory, the house was so big that she could run around and feel like Supergirl. The foyer area that she had set up a tent in to pretend that she was camping was only decorated with lights through the window. The kitchen, where he used to cook every day, was now cleaned and stripped off all the grease. If it wasn't for the appliances design looking slightly aged, people would think it's a brand new kitchen. Sylvia didn't even walk into the living room. She walked right up the stairs to the full closet where she used to hiding, wishing to be transported into Narnia. The office room where she used to pretend to be a big deal, speaking with a tone mimicking the CEOs in the movies. And the bedroom on the third floor were in no doubt full of emptiness. The bed that she sat on with her mother when she was disciplined, as if she could still hear the sound of her uncle eating the crunchy fried chicken by the door of the room. Sylvia was crying, smelling the juicy chicken bursting from the bites. Couldn't remember if she was sad or just hungry, but she sure remembered how the bucket of tasty fried chicken made her mother forget how mad she was. The laughter that night still echoed in her ears. The smell still toured around her nostrils. And if the wall could talk, they would tell Sylvia how much her uncle and her mother wished for her. She was surprised and didn't understand why he had left for nothing. Was he mad at her that she was not there when he was sick? That was not like him. But where were all the things that she loved? The cozy couch, the lights everywhere, the stylish wardrobe. Why did he take it all away? Just when she was puzzled, she walked down the stairs, looking into the living room. There was a manila envelope leaning against the complete vacant wall. She ran towards the envelope as if she was drowning in the sea finding a drifting wood. She had to reach it before the desperation caught up on her. Inside the envelope, it was a will. He left the house and other assets to her. And then there was a letter. It was addressed to her. She had read it over and over and over again, but she couldn't remember what he had said in the letter until she read it again years later. At the end of the letter, he suggested to her, "Live your life, enjoy your life, make it yours. I love you, and I know you love me too." Sylvia read the letter again before she stepped on the stage to accept the award for the original screenplay that she had wrote about her uncle gossiping with her mother, doing her best to hold back the tears. She could feel that after winning this special honor, her career would take off even further. The thought and validation of the industrial recognition fulfilled the enjoyment. Maybe the special talent of acting while writing helped her. Maybe the way of solving problems, learning new ideas that she had gotten used to, contributed to being a good writer. Or the endless materials that her family provided her. Although with grave, she was on top of the world. She thought she would continue to ride high and would get offered more and more jobs on different projects, collaborating with industry titans. She was disappointed that nothing significant ever arrived. The enthusiasms went from hot coffee hot to Titanic ending cold water cold. The world kept on going, seemingly trying to leave her behind. A nightmare occurred over the supposed to be chilling weekend. She was trying to reach the end of the rainbow, but couldn't. All the people that she was trying to reach just did their best to avoid her. Not because she said or did anything, just the opportunity wasn't there. For things that she was good at, she wasn't famous enough or cheap enough to match the project. Or for things that she wasn't interested in, she didn't want to compromise her life, waste her energy, and limited precious time on Earth. Years later, when her daughter ran into the office and asked if she could take the doll to Grandma's house, she said yes, but she warned, "You will need to take care of your doll. If you lose the doll again, you cannot cry about it." "Yes, Mommy." With a crisp, innocent sound, she replied with no thoughts of the consequences of the promises. She ran away to pack her own bag and was so ready to make a mess at the grandparents, who allowed the innocent girl to be a complete menace. Sylvia had grown resentful of going to her parents. Sometimes, she thought moving back to her uncle's house was a complete mistake. But life definitely had become easier with the extra help from her parents. "Please stop saying that. I'm writing and publishing. Not too bad for a career," she would say to her father, and it would silence him for a bit. But her mother didn't know when to stop. "You used to get awards." She pointed to the proudly displayed trophies on the glass enclosed shelves. Sylvia wanted to go nuclear and say, "That's because Uncle died." But she didn't, or couldn't. Not only because the sadness and loss still felt fresh and raw, but also because she knew her parents were only worrying about her. She secretly promised herself that she would never do that to her daughter. Allow her to be happy with whatever she has, and support her life to be whatever she wants to be and can be. But the history repeated. The Asian parents' worry that were engraved and chained in the DNAs, expressed fully and completely when Sylvia's daughter wanted to be a writer like herself. "No, I won't pay for your liberal arts degree. You should do something else. It is hard. No success will be guaranteed." Thinking about the days of her going from the top of the world to now, having to fight to get her books published, she worried for her daughter, trying to get her to become a doctor or something else, something much more enviable and sustainable. "I will pay for your degree. You can come out of the medical school debt-free. Make a lot more money than your friends." Money, money, money. Oh my god, Mom. Why is it always about money? How about my freedom? You wanted to be an actress, her daughter argued, with a harsh tone, accompanied by anger about her not being supportive. "You tried. Why don't you allow me to try?" Not sure if it was because they lived in the house that her uncle left her, and her uncle was still watching over them. They compromised. Sylvia would pay for the college, allowing her daughter to major in literature, but going through medical school was a requirement. They shook their hands. When Sylvia was surprised with the special delivery of the New Yorker by her daughter, she couldn't be more proud. "Oh, nothing much recently. I am working on my next book, but my daughter was published in the New Yorker recently." She proudly bragged about it to her friends. Even though the publication was in the first issue of the year, she didn't stop doing it until the 47th, the last issue of the year. Her daughter was so embarrassed by then and warned her to stop. But did she stop doing it? Your guess was probably right. She never did. She was fully prepared of her daughter to drop out of the medical school. Once every so often, she would get the dream of her receiving the call and being informed that her daughter is dropping out of the med school. Feeling the sorrow and maybe shame of her being a bad mother, but the announcement of her daughter receiving an offer of residency arrived before the surrendering call. That summer, she ripped out her daughter's bedroom, and the room returned to being a walk-in closet. Her daughter doesn't understand the significance of the room returning to the closet. In fact, that she was a bit mad that her childhood bedroom was changed to a space that her mother doesn't need. She didn't even have enough fashion items to be that wasteful. "Where would I sleep when I came home?" her daughter asked. Sylvia didn't answer. It was a way of saying goodbye to the days of early mornings that she couldn't stand. The days of sleeping until whenever she wants to wake up. Doing whatever she wants finally arrived. No more waking up early to go to school. No more waking up early to cook her daughter breakfast and take her to school. She could finally imagine her old days of learning from her uncles in this closet room. Now Sylvia has one jacket. Uncle has one jacket. One jacket plus one jacket equals to 2 jackets. Each of us brought 2 jackets. How many jackets do we have? 4 jackets, Sylvia's daughter answered in the crisp, innocent sound. That's right. Visualize if you need, or however you want to learn logically. You did fantastic, Sylvia's uncle encouraged. One early morning, 2 phone calls broke Sylvia's late morning sleep. Sylvia opened her eyes to the blacked out room. Both of her work phones and her personal phones rang. One was from her agent, one was from her daughter. The light from the phones stabbed Sylvia's eyes. The extreme light was harsh. She had not woken up before 10 a.m. since years ago. She picked up her daughter's call first and muted her work phone. Mom, I'm pregnant. I'm getting married. Her daughter called, ambushed her before she could react. Her agent called again. In a sleepy voice, Sylvia said, You got to wait, putting her daughter on mute. She then picked up her agent's call. You won! I submitted your book to the literature award that you always wanted, and won. With the most calm attitude and the sleepiest throat, she replied, Hold on, my daughter says she is pregnant. I need to know more details. Can you wait? Without getting the answer back, she switched the phone back to her daughter. Who is the guy? Are you sure he is the father? Mom! Her daughter screamed. The son-in-law was another doctor-to-be in the hospital. They looked nice together, but the now great-grandparents looked at the photos of the guy, gave a face of pure disdain, and asked, Is he wealthy? He's not good-looking enough for our little princess. Thankfully, Sylvia muted the FaceTime call, and the young man didn't speak Chinese, so he couldn't figure out what they had just said. Other than that, it was relatively a good first call. Sylvia would have plenty of time to prepare her parents for the young couple's first home visit. What's the tradition? Do we need to give them a red envelope, or are they giving one to us? The parents asked each other, then started arguing back and forth in the slow and peaceful, yet with guns blazing tone. It would be a shotgun wedding. It will happen on the same day of the award ceremony. Although the event will happen in the same city, Sylvia couldn't be at two places at the same time, and Sylvia wanted to be physically present at both places. To accommodate her, the wedding ceremony would be hosted in the late afternoon at the church, followed by the banquet hosted in the early evening, including the traditional Chinese wedding ceremony. When the banquet is over, Sylvia would change out of her mother-in-law gown, put on the I'm a serious writer dress, then leave the banquet hall and rush to the award ceremony in a hotel conference hall about an hour's drive away from the wedding. All plans sounded perfect. But like the wise man Mr. Murphy once said, anything can go wrong, and it will go wrong. First, it was the wedding. Originally was going to be hosted in the church, but somehow in the house of God, the electricity went out the night before. According to the clergy, I don't know, Sylvia. How do I know why the transformer went boom? I have no control over that. I don't care. The show must go on. Sylvia replied with force and begging and lots of promises. I will get the church lit up, Father, trust me. She reassured her crying daughter that the wedding would go on. Don't be so useless. Keep on crying. Nothing will be accomplished by just crying. She harshly said it to her daughter, not noticing that she used to cry about needing to wake up early to go to school. So, in the fighting sounds and feisty mode, they called all of their friends and family who were attending the wedding to bring all sorts of light sources. The next day, the church was lit up by all kinds of light, with 10,000 different light temperatures and brightness. All the cell phones were raised above the head for the photographers to capture some photos. Flashlights piled up at the altar and along the aisle. Candles were burned since the church had already steamed up like a massive ancient oven. In sweat and soaked by the seldom happening rain, all the guests sat in the air-conditioned banquet hall, watching the traditional Chinese ceremony happening. with the sound of the water dripping off guest dresses and hair, the sound of the gold bracelets and necklaces being put on the bride, and a loud sneeze interrupted the cheering room, breaking the focus of the waitstaff, and his feet stepped on the moist floor, causing a huge commotion of symphony composed by falling ceramic plates and silverware. The whole room got silenced. Only a round metal plate breakdancing on the ground, reminding everyone how disastrous this wedding had been. Suddenly, a drunken guest laughed, sinking the whole sequence to a halt. The host and the officiant stopped talking, leaving an old relative who was going to put a heavy gold bracelet on the bride confused. The show must go on, Sylvia thought. Like a pirate, grabbed the gold and applied it to her fully caged daughter's arm. When the routine of the wedding was about to be done, it had been late. Sylvia was exhausted. Looking in the mirror, her makeup had been ruined. Her styled hair looked like cooked and cold pasta, lifelessly melted into a bird nest. She walked to the couch in the dressing room, sat down, and was ready to rest away from the chaos, letting her award ceremony float away with the rainbow. "Mommy, wake up! You have to go. It's time," her daughter called. For a split second, she thought it meant she had died. But it wasn't the time yet. Her daughter, in the wedding dress, dug her out of the couch, dragged her across town, through the traffic, through the wet streets, and through the event security, through the unchanged and ungroomed Sylvia onto the stage, just in time for the acceptance speech. "Who cares? Go accept the prize that you worked so hard for. This is part of who you are. This is part of your life. This is part of your day." Like mother, like daughter, the show must go on. Sylvia didn't remember much of the rest of the day, nor did she go back to look for the photos of the ceremony. She just laid the trophy next to the wedding photo album in the office display shelves. Years later, the more they thought about the day, the more they laughed. How did nobody check on the weather? The rain took out the church transformer the night before, Sylvia wrote in the family group chat. Thankfully, the wedding was not the indicator for the marriage. The messy wedding blessed them with a peaceful and fruitful life. When she was preparing for her belongings to be gifted to her loved ones, she wrote letters to each and every one of them. "I love you. Thank you for sharing the beautiful life with me," she wrote at the end of every letter. Then closed the manila envelope. "Sylvia?" the angel asked, calling her back from all the thoughts. "Any regrets for us to solve before you go?" Sylvia shook her head, raised her eyebrows, smiled with the innocence that only a child could possess, and said proudly, "I am all ready to go." That's all for this episode of The Living Journey. I truly am grateful for your time. Feel free to leave your reviews. Please like, follow, or subscribe. Do share this show so we can grow together. Lots of hope. Signing out.